Okay, it's recording.
It's recording? Okay, perfect.
Okay, so my overall impression of the book was that the biggest thing that stuck out to me was that the lesson that it taught of kind of self-discovery and like finding who you are truly supposed to be and how you should feel towards other people. I just thought like that was the biggest thing that stuck out to me was the lesson that it left.
I agree. Like, I wasn't really sure, like, where it was going in the beginning, like, when the rabbit, Edward Tulane, is, like, owned by the little girl. Sorry, I'm trying to find her name. Abilene, I'm not really sure how to say it. And I was just like, this is kind of interesting. And then, like, it was just, like, really sweet. Like, I just thought the whole book, like, was just a really sweet read. And I don't really know what I was expecting, but it was, like, it was really good. I really enjoyed reading it overall.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I like what you said, Danielle, about like the overall like theme about the book.
Mm-hmm.
It's about finding yourself and like not worrying like with what kind of like others think, because like he kind of like just like blows everyone off at the beginning, and then like towards the end like he just starts getting to where he's like comfortable with like who he is kind of, and like
Mm-hmm.
and like he realizes that like for a long time he hasn't had these emotions, but he is slowly like gaining them through the people he meets and through like the loss that he keeps having. But I really like the book for the most part. Some spots were a little but
Mm-hmm.
for the most part I did like the book.
Yeah, so bouncing off of what Samantha said, one question that popped up in my head was that, like, at what point do you think that Edward Tulane's overlook on, hold on, it says, like, overlook on his, like, happiness, like, at what point did his happiness change from being, like, shallow to realizing that he needs love from somebody else? Do you guys know what I mean?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what point do you guys think that happened?
I think it kind of starts on page 50, like right after he gets thrown off the ship, and it said, there with his head in the muck, he experienced his first genuine and true emotion. Edward Tulane was afraid.
Mm-hmm.
Like it says it like in the book, like that was the first emotion. But then, and obviously, that was one of fear, which, isn't the happiest. But then I think that was like kind of the starting point. And then on page 80, after he's lived with Nellie and Lawrence and their daughter comes to visit and she throws him away in the trash can,
Mm-hmm.
on page 80 it says, Edward felt a sharp pain somewhere deep inside of his china chest. For the first time, his heart called out to him, and it said two words, Nellie and Lawrence.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where, like, his heart's, like, I think it cracked when he was afraid in the ocean, and now here I think like some of those pieces are falling away and like he's really opening up. But then I think like the biggest like breakthrough was when the little girl, Bryce's sister,
Mm-hmm.
the one that was sick,
Yes.
like when she dies, because I think that is like a big important lesson from like this book too. It's like it's important to love, but when you love someone or something, it kind of comes with the understanding and acceptance that you might lose them. And like that's why people don't love sometimes, because they're afraid of that. But through this journey, like Edward learns that it's okay to love, because even when you lose, like that love makes it worth it.
Mm-hmm. That's what I said. I thought that was the turning point whenever he cared so much for, I think her name was Sarah Ruth.
Yeah.
When he cared so much for her and then he lost her, like I feel like that's when he realized like he needs this love, that back and forth, in order to be truly happy and not like the shallow happy that he was before.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like he truly experienced his happiness. Like in my eyes, it was like after he was kind of like found, because like by that fisherman, what is his name? Nellie's husband.
Lawrence, maybe.
Yeah. Because he like at that point he didn't really care like so much as to what happened. Like he was just like, I'm just glad that someone came and rescued me. And so like I feel like that's when like true like emotional like happiness kind of happened, because he and like there's I can't remember what page it's on, but when he's like, I'm just happy, like he was like, I don't really like being on this ship, but I'm happy that I'm getting to look out at sea or something like that.
Yeah.
And like I feel like that was like an important thing, like an important emotional turning point for him.
I agree.
I had a question kind of regarding like emotions, I guess. Why do you guys think I can't say her name, Aibileen loved him so much?
What did you say?
Why do you think Aibileen loved him so much?
Okay.
I think she just kind of portrays that like childlike innocence and how children just like whatever they do, whatever emotion they feel, it's 100%. And I think that's why the author opened up the book that way, because it was like such a contrast between Aibileen like loving Edward like 100% with everything, and then him being like at 0%. And I think like her character did that just for the contrast, and then for like the full circle, because like she got him back in the end. So I think that part of that is just because that's like a quality of children, is like they just feel things like so deeply, because they don't think about their emotions like we do. Like as we get older, you know, like they don't mask things, they just feel it and they let it out. And so I think that's why she was like that.
Plus I think like whenever a little kid gets a toy or a stuffed animal or anything, like they take that everywhere they go. You know what I mean? Like when I was little, I had an American Girl doll. Everywhere I went, I took her. And so I feel like she just, like you said, Mariann, she just loved him so much, and that was just her best friend.
I agree. I have a question too, kind of like about the emotions, and it kind of piggybacks off y'all's too, but it says, what was this book's message about emotions, and how did Edward's journey portray this message?
So I would say the overall like message is that like you can have so much, like other people can like you so much, and then you not feel a thing for them. And like I feel like that's like one of the key things. And then like through his journey, like it shows that someone who is emotionless and has like no feelings whatsoever can eventually get to the point through experiences and relationships with people. They can get to the point of like finding true emotion, because like he never really had any true emotions until, you know, he started this whole thing where he got lost and got thrown overboard and everything like that. So I feel like that's like the main message. And what was the other part of your question?
Just like, how did Edward's journey portray this message, which we've kind of already like touched on. Yeah.
I feel like the message was kind of, you need love in order to be happy. And his journey was, that portrayed this message, was him being thrown away, him being lost, him being broken, and then finding love like here and there. I feel like that just kind of like exemplified like you can be at your lowest but then come back with love. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I like the way you worded that with like the being broken, because he was literally broken, and he was literally lost, and he was literally thrown away. And those are three things that sometimes like not hypothetically, but like people go through, like not literally, but they feel broken, they feel lost, they feel like they're thrown away, and then like you said, love kind of brings them back. So I think the author definitely tried to bring those things to life, because I think it's something that everyone can kind of identify with in some way or another.
Kind of piggybacking off of that, I had a question kind of about his journey, but I was like, how do you think his journey would have been if he wouldn't have like fallen overboard? Like, do you think the book would have even existed, or like how do you think like the author would have gone about showing his growth of emotion?
Well, honestly, I feel like if he didn't, like, he wasn't thrown overboard, then this whole adventure wouldn't have happened, and he would have just lived his life with Aibileen. And quite honestly, I feel like maybe he might not even like had this like discovery of his self-discovery, and like he could have been like the shallow rabbit that he was, like his whole life.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think if I had to pick, like, one or the other, like, say, like, he would have changed, he still would have changed, or he wouldn't have, I would go with he wouldn't have. But I think if he did, it would have been more about, like, Aibileen changing, because that's, like, the only point of view that he would have gotten was, like, her life. So I think that maybe if, like, she went through some things, then maybe he could have been affected by it, but maybe not, because I really feel like getting different perspectives really like changed him. So I feel like if he'd stayed with Aibileen, like he might have changed a little bit, but I don't think it would have been like drastic like it was, because I think sometimes people can take like a mental journey or like a spiritual journey or like journey and not actually go anywhere. But I think he needed that physical journey, and so I think the book would have been very different.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a question from page 27, and it's the chapter where Aibileen, I'm pretty sure it's her grandma. It's the Pellegrina.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say her name either, but she like tells the story about the princess who was like really beautiful, but like she wasn't loved, and it was foreshadowing for like what was going to happen. So I said, did you pick up on the foreshadowing at first, or was it later on? At what point did you pick up on it, and like what was the connection between this story and the book, and why was it important that the author included it?
So when I was reading this chapter, I was actually kind of a little confused. Like I was like, out of nowhere, like it's like this story, like, I mean, I liked that it kind of like in the chapter before it like was like, oh, we're going to tell you a story kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But like I was so confused why they were telling a story about a princess, and like how like, how she wasn't loved, and like she swallowed the ring and all that stuff, and like how the princess was like, why does everyone have to speak of, on page 31, why does everyone always speak of love? And I feel like that's kind of like it sets up for his journey. I didn't realize it until like I got to where like he met like Nellie and Lawrence.
Yeah.
But that's where I started like really making connections between the Pellegrina story and this story of Edward Tulane, because like he doesn't want to feel like when he first starts out, he doesn't want to feel any kind of emotion. Like he just doesn't have a yearning to, and like that's kind of how the princess is at the beginning of the story, and then like the story just kind of progresses to where she realizes like she has to,
mm-hmm.
And that like if she doesn't start feeling some kind of emotion, she's going to be like a warthog forever or something. But yeah, I didn't pick up till about the chapter where Nellie and Lawrence fully like came in, and kind of like where he kind of first began to feel true love, even though he didn't necessarily like it because he was being treated like a girl rabbit. But
yeah, I agree. It's very confusing. My final question was kind of just a general question about relating this book and our future classroom. Basically, do you think this book would be a good book to use in your future classroom? I mean, I think it would be a great book just because of the lesson that it teaches and what I like discussed in the beginning, just because it teaches such a great lesson, and I feel like kids need to learn like how to love and respect other people and not be selfish and shallow. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, I can definitely see myself using this book in my classroom. And I think what you're saying, like, there's this category, and like some people call it like emotional intelligence, and it's like, how are you able to like understand other people's emotions and like react to it? And honestly, I think technology has kind of taken that ability away from some kids, because they come to school and like they don't really know how to socially interact. They don't know how to like read social cues from other kids. And I feel like this book would be a really good way to like teach kids about emotions and teach kids about like the importance, and it would be a good like discussion point. Like you could bring in real struggles that kids have having these emotions with other kids, other people that they interact with. And I think this was I think it was a really well written book. There's like good vocabulary. The storyline was really good. And so I can definitely see myself using this in my future classroom.
Yeah, I agree. I want to teach first grade, so I would definitely have to read this to the kids. But I think it's a great book. It teaches a lot about emotion and like kind of like, and like it kind of goes about like when Sarah passes away, like in the book, like, you know, some people might have that experience sometime in their life, or they might have already had that with like a parent or sibling passing away. And so like it kind of also deals with other topics too, like death and things. And like it does it in a very like good way that children can kind of understand and relate to it. And like I also feel like this book, like I could use it definitely because like it tells the story from like kind of the perspective of a rabbit, and so that grasps like kids' attention very well. Like they're not having to focus on like they can just think of like, I'm sure like, I don't even know if kids still have pretend friends, but I'm sure they do.
I was thinking.
Because like technology, like, you know, taken away from that. But, you know, if they have like pretend friends, or like when I was little, I used to like act like I was a teacher with my baby dolls. And so things like that. So, you know, it kind of gives them a way to like relate easier to the topics discussed in the book. And so I would definitely use it just based on the things in the book, the plot and everything.
Yeah, I agree for sure. Okay. Great discussion.
You guys just email me if like.
Wait, we should probably stop recording.
Yeah.